I think there's a deeper problem within the marriage.
Yeah, and making such a claim like the secret to marriage equality is formula. Does that mean that we gift people Similac at their bridal shower? You know,
I just think it's sad.
I think so too.
I think it's really sad, and it makes me sad for them. Like, I'm frustrated that this is put out into the world as like this statement that just gets in people's brains and rewires brains, but I'm sad for them because it sounds like she says it was an informed decision, but she has to work so hard to defend it that I don't, like, I believe if you made an informed decision that you were comfortable with, you don't have to work so hard to defend it.
Hey, Mama Bear. Welcome to the Breastfeeding with Confidence podcast. Do you dream of bonding with your baby through exclusive breastfeeding, but worry about breastfeeding pain or low milk supply? Maybe you're struggling with breastfeeding and no one seems to have any answers. I'm Jaimie, doula, international board certified lactation consultant, and mom of 5, and I have been where you are. After working through painful latches, milk supply worries, and postpartum depression, and supporting countless mothers through their breastfeeding journeys for over 8 years, I'm here to tell you breastfeeding doesn't have to be perfect to be positive. Each week, I'll share breastfeeding tips to help you prevent and overcome unexpected breastfeeding challenges so you can actually enjoy bonding with your baby. If you are ready to shut out the toxic whispers of the world, embrace your God-given intuition, and release your inner fierce mama bear, grab some coffee or your favorite herbal tea, and let's dive in.
Welcome back to the Breastfeeding with Confidence podcast. Today we are doing things a little different. There was recently a New York Times article that was a bit controversial as far as infant feeding goes, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it, but I thought that given the subject, it would be really useful and fun to have my husband come join the conversation. And so I have my husband here today. His name is Sebastian.
Hello, everybody.
And we are going to discuss the New York Times article, "The Secret to Marriage Equality is Formula." When I first heard that, like the headline alone, just really, I read the headline and a few snippets, and I could get the gist of the whole thing. I did eventually read the whole thing, and I mean, I feel like the mom had been through a lot, and I feel compassion for her on that, but I think she's sending a very dangerous message and undoing a lot of work that's been done over the last few decades, and giving formula free advertising, or maybe it's not free, maybe she was paid, I don't know. But I wanted to kind of talk about, what were your overall thoughts, Sebastian, of this idea that the secret to marriage equality is formula?
Equality, I think, was a really interesting word to use because marriage is by default a partnership, right? Like, especially when you are parents now. And everyone kind of has a role to play, right? If you think of whatever sports team you want, whatever concept of team you want, right? The quarterback's not the biggest dude on the team necessarily, right? Like we think of offensive lineman compared to a quarterback. But they all play an important role. We know the football team doesn't work as well if they don't do their jobs or their portions won't work together. So when reading this article, you know, I've been around you enough to kind of get an idea of your business and your concerns. I mean, I read this, and I don't know this couple, their situation, their background, their outlook, whatever. But it just seemed like she made this decision from at least her decision, right? It's not like she was backed into a corner where she wasn't necessarily like not supported and someone's trying to tell her what to do and stuff like that. But it's almost like when she said her husband felt sidelined. That was something that was interesting to me, in the fact of like, did he tell her that? Did she just assume that? Did they have a conversation about it? But, I mean, at the same time, like, how far down this rabbit hole do you want to go with bonding with your child? Because, yes, I can't breastfeed, right? An insert joke for all of you who've watched Meet the Parents with, you know, I have nipples, fucker, can you milk me? But it's like, how far do the equality do I go? Do I feel somehow less equal in our marriage because you don't do oil changes? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, I get it that, you know, with parenting and a child, it's much more sensitive than that. But at the same time, like, you have your role to play, I have my role to play. And the thing is, when I watch you breastfeed our child, I don't look at it from a perspective of, oh, I'm left out. Oh, I wish I could do that. No, I look at it from a perspective of she is doing what a mother and baby are meant to do. And that's a sacred bond. And that's, the design. That's the design. Women can give milk. Men cannot, right? So
that's debatable.
I'm sorry.
We're just going to focus on the topic and
okay,
no, I get the point.
Whole other conversation. Fine.
Yeah.
But my point is, right, like, marriage, before it's equal, it's a partnership, right?
Right, and that's my thing about it too. And when I made a quick comment on Instagram about it, I used the exact same analogy you did, that sports, like a sports team, everybody's got their role to play, and it only works if everybody plays their role. Equality doesn't mean sameness. And I feel like reading this article, it sounds very, they start talking about like the history of formula and the feminist movement and everything. And she talks about it in a very, in a way, I just find the way she talks about it very interesting. Because she says, like, feminists were among the groups who pushed for a return to breastfeeding, arguing that it gave women bodily autonomy in an over-medicalized world. Other feminists in the world of whoever, that it was exhausting servitude. And I feel like it just comes back to this whole problem of equality, like the feminism, that people keep pushing, quote, feminism as a way for women to be equal, aka the same as men, and really degrading femininity in the process.
Well, I found that interesting topic too, right? Especially the whole 1969 studies. I will give this author credit that I think she did a bunch of research and put out some chronology, put out some facts, and she wasn't totally explicitly biased, right? But I think there was a lot of implicit bias towards the formula thing, especially when she's phrasing the outcome of this story as a positive one, which, do you, that's fine. Well, everyone has their own thing, but at the same time, I think all this article really proved to me is something we kind of know with human nature is take any issue and anyone can find the positives and the negatives. You can't necessarily just slice it and say feminists support breastfeeding, because we know that there's feminists that have its own issue with it, right? And
yeah.
So I just find it kind of, it's as complicated as people are themselves, so you can't really cast a net and try to frame people into one is better, one is not. Maybe one is better for some people and one is better for others.
Right, and I mean, that's the whole premise of my show and my work and what I do, is that I want moms to be making decisions from a place of information. And most of the information they're getting is biased, lacking, incomplete. So I work really hard to make sure they've got full information. It sounds like this author breastfed her first baby for 8 months and then stopped breastfeeding for one reason or another. And then with her second baby, that was the thing that was concerning to me, was like, she's like, oh, with my second baby, I knew I was going to do it differently because I didn't want it to be like it was before. And I guess a lot of this is just sounding very like she didn't want to feel like she was the only one tied to the baby. And she used a line in here, actually. She said, the previous 3 months have been a crash course in parental equality, our conscious attempt to reverse the infuriatingly lopsided dynamic we had experienced with our first child. At the heart of it was a simple strategy: use baby formula early and often. First, I find that line absolutely disgusting, because we know that the line that is used for supporting your breast milk supply is to nurse early and often, and she's using a play on that, and that's intentional. This is a smart woman writing this, whether I agree with her or not. That was intentional, and I think that is disgusting. But what I find concerning is that they were using formula as their main strategy for correcting what they felt to be lopsidedness in their marriage. And to me, that signals a much deeper issue. Like, would you agree or disagree with me that if you have such dramatic, quote, lopsidedness in your marriage, that infant feeding is not the cause of that? Like, it's just where the symptoms show up.
I mean, the interpretive gaps here are really interesting. So, not to try to attack these people, but I would ask a couple questions that this article doesn't talk about. So, I never heard him quoted, right? She just said, oh, he felt sidelighted. Oh, it was lopsiding. And okay, I give you the benefit of the doubt as part of that marriage that, you're in that space and you can say what you're feeling. But, like, did he change diapers?
Right.
Like, how lopsided are we talking here? It seemed like overwhelmingly, because I don't know, my experience of being a father of 5 and, you know, watching you breastfeed all 5 is I was still changing diapers. I helped get the breast pump assembled when you were with Aiden, right? With our first child, you were just very out of the space, new mom, and I just put the breast pump together and got running because, again, I'd seen my mom use a breast pump as a, you know, banking professional for 20 years.
Yeah, she made it work. She made it work when there were no systems in place to support her making it work.
No, she brought her pumps to work. She pumped in her office, right? And then she went back, you know, and as an aircraft maintainer, it's been tricky for moms who want to meet this goal to do it, but I'll tell you, the military, right, and I'm a military aircraft maintainer, has come along quite a ways where I see a lactation room in dang near every building, even hangars.
It has changed so much since Aiden was born. Like,
absolutely.
Do you remember me calling you after La Leche like that one time, and I was like, "What are your nursing accommodations?"
Yeah, and you know, I'm just trying to keep the jet in the air, and you're like, "What are the nurse accommodations?" But now I go to every building and I see it. I mean. So I think that there are some positive federal movements.
But what I guess what I'm getting at is, like, you kind of said, like, isn't he changing diapers? Like, what is he doing? And that's how I feel, because, and this is a whole other conversation about sleep and everything, but one of the big reasons that so many moms feel like breastfeeding is lopsided, I guess, is because they're the ones getting up to feed at night. And it did say something in here about how he was able to get up and feed the baby so she could sleep instead of him being the only one to get sleep. Like, I know you love your sleep. I know you love your sleep.
Oh, yeah.
But with every baby, you got up with me every single time. Whether that was to change the diaper and get me water while I fed, or to go work with another child who woke up at the same time. Like, you lost just as much sleep as I did.
Yeah, and then, you know, when I was doing shift work, too.
Yeah.
But it was really just about communicating, like, hey, this is the night where I've got this thing going on in the morning, and, you know, both ways, where it's like, hey, I'm going to need you to get this one, this
Yeah,
guy,
but, like, for the most part, though, you just because you weren't feeding doesn't mean you were not awake doing something to help and, like, be present in that moment.
Yeah.
Until we kind of got the sideline nursing and bed sharing thing down, and we both started getting more sleep. But I like, that's where I don't want to just assume that this husband is useless, but I kind of can't help but make that assumption, because it's like, she says here, she's like, so in an age where the vast majority of parents support the concept of equal parenting, even as dads still don't share the load equally. Like, I know I get very frustrated with you that you don't have to experience the same things I do as a homeschooling mom. Like, you get to go away and have adult conversation, and you're not hearing the same overstimulating noise over and over. But you have your own stressors that you're dealing with the family, like, because, I mean, you do help out with things around the house, first of all, like, so you carry some of the mental load that I do. You've been better lately about taking some of that off of me. I feel like, as a dad who's, like, got to work, you've got to pick this up on the way home and do this and that and this and that, like, you have a whole laundry to-do list of things that you have to do to come home, and then to be able to kind of decompress and be present. Like, there's a lot of, like, mental pressure and everything there with making sure that, okay, I'm providing, but am I present enough? Like you're still there's I just feel like everybody says that it's unevenly balanced, and in many places it is, and I can see, I know I feel that way sometimes, but I also know you feel that way sometimes, but
yeah.
Society doesn't accept it from you.
I mean, you could say that, yeah, because it's like, you know, the deadbeat dad, right, is, you know, the stereotype, right, of the bad father, right, in the family, right, the dad that comes home and just, you know, does whatever instead of filling in the gaps, right, and I think that that's an interesting thing. Again, I don't want to judge these folks because I don't know them.
I mean, she put her life out here, told half a story, and said controversial shit.
But that's my point. But that's my point, Jaimie. It's half the story. Like, what I don't hear it from his side.
Right.
I gotta trust that that's what was real and going on, but I can't fully, because what was his side? Like, was it a thing where, okay, because bedtime would take longer with you breastfeeding the kids, and I go and put the other ones to bed.
Yeah.
You know? I'm doing the dishes maybe more. I fill in the gaps, right? You know, but if you're just sitting there like, oh, dang, I wish I could, man, that's mom's time. And that's that special bond that should never be messed with.
Yeah, it's like feeding is, especially breastfeeding specifically, like feeding is so much a part of parenthood of a newborn.
Mm-hmm.
But like parenthood is not feeding, you know? Like feeding is parenthood, but parenthood is not feeding. And I have long felt that a huge role the father plays in the life of a breastfed infant is to show that there's somebody that you can connect with and have emotion with and build relationship with outside of the mom, outside of feeding. That feeding is not the only way to build relationships. And then maybe this is going down a whole other rabbit hole, but does this concept of, oh, we can bond better and parent better through feeding with then, because you hear this a lot, like grandparents who, oh, why do you have to breastfeed? Can't you pump and bottle feed so I can feed the baby? Because I want to feed the baby. Everybody wants to feed the baby because that's how you connect with the baby. No, that's how the mom is supposed to connect with the baby. Everybody else's job is to show that you can connect with people without food. So is it possible that this early wiring of like connection is only attached to feeding could be leading to other epidemics as far as like eating disorders go, feeling like you have to eat to feel connection, you have to eat to feel happy, you have to eat to feel blah 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 blah.
At the same time, I'm going to disagree with you slightly here, right? It's not like the only way to connect is feeding, like, so I agree with that, but I think that when I say like the grandparents and everyone else who supports the mom and the child, right, like their job isn't to necessarily like connect in other ways, but it's also to support and defend that mom while she's feeding. Because
yeah, I don't think that's
I think
that's a disagreement. I think that's a building upon.
Yeah, but I would just throw that out there, right? Like you talk about all these people who are like, oh, I want to feed. Oh, I'm losing out on that connection. It's like, well, no, there's other ways you can help support this and help them. Like, you know, not to get too like, I don't know, biological with it. Go look in nature. When a mom is feeding the young, she's vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so as a dad, right, if the mom is feeding your child that she carried and pushed out, fellas, and like, let's be real, none of us would want to go through that,
we want
right?
to talk about things being
we're already starting behind, okay? Then you defend the space, and okay, maybe we're not fighting off the saber-toothed tiger with a spear in the cave anymore, but there's very real stresses, there's very real rigors to our lives that we feel that bring our wives and our children down, and we gotta take care of it, right? Like, I'm not going, like, do you feel left out? Wait, well, if you're nursing and I'm out changing the oil on the car? I mean, like, you know, and, you know, I doubt
I might feel frustrated. I can't ask you to come bring me water.
Yeah. And then there's also this other equality, and here's a funny thing, too. When it's, like, a man trying to get equality, it's always seen as toxic. I reflect on this meme quite a bit, right, that would circulate around like on Facebook and crap on Father's Day. And it would be like, if she can push the baby carriage, she can push the lawnmower. Take the day off, king. and you know, that's toxic and disgusting in its own right. But it's kind of like, that's equality too.
Yeah. No.
So like that's my thing, right, is this dynamic is
but maybe that's the whole problem, is the word equality.
Yeah.
Is people don't understand the word equality.
This dynamic is as complicated as marriages are themselves, right? Like, you got to figure out what's right for you, and I'm glad that this couple has found something that works for them, but I would put the caveat of don't preach it to the world that this is the best way and everything. You have the right to express yourself, you have the right to your opinion, but I really caution you on being dangerous, because otherwise you become just as quote-unquote toxic as you thought the fed and best people are that are living quote-unquote rent-free in your head.
The breast is best.
Breast is best, that's what I meant, I apologize.
No, I know, she said that. And the other thing too she said was, oh gosh, what was it? Let me look. Hold on. She was talking about how like, oh goodness, let me find it here so that I can... She said, even a more open-minded lactation consultant probably would have cautioned against the willy-nilly combo feeding we employed with Pearl. Combo feeding may undermine breastfeeding, experts say, either because it affects the supply of breast milk or because babies might start to prefer the bottle. The few studies on combo feeding that exist show that this risk is real, but the research is sparse. I mean, if you understand the biology, you don't, like, that's like saying that the research that we need water is sparse. If you understand biology, the research that's there it's clear, it's simple.
Yeah.
She says, perhaps if we actually took women's lives seriously and acknowledged the boons of combo feeding, there'd be a bevy of informed advice at our fingertips. There is informed advice at your fingertips. That informed advice is if you combo feed in a manner that is, as she said, willy-nilly, it's going to undermine your milk supply. That is the advice. There is tons of advice available on how to combo feed in a way that supports breastfeeding. This is something that I literally teach in my avoiding formula class. We talk about smart supplementing and how you can do this in a way that supports breastfeeding. I have worked with so many moms who they had to combo feed because they had, quote, low milk supply for one reason or another. It was a latching issue. And then we worked them up to having a full milk supply and no longer needing to combo feed.
If we took women's lives seriously, we would support them without question equivocally through their breastfeeding journeys and maybe not feel like we're left behind because we're not the one putting milk into the kid's mouth. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I don't know. I think that...
But I'm just
like,
more concerned
she makes
about...
these big claims, these big emotional, dramatic things that I just can't get behind.
Well, she, just to make the point of what you said before, like what she said, you know, like, you're putting this out there, it comes with responsibility. What you're saying comes with responsibility, whether it's your personal story or not. And so she gives this whole thing about how combo feeding recklessly can damage milk supply, and she says it in a way that is like, but the research is sparse, blah, blah, blah. Maybe if we had more information, and then she says in the next line, for whatever reason, in my case, formula did indeed edge out breast milk. The baby instantly loved her bottle, and by the 3rd month, I was barely nursing. For whatever reason, like as if she doesn't know the reason. You just cited the reasons.
Yeah.
Like nobody taught you how to pace feed. Nobody taught you like how to do this in a way that supports breastfeeding. And you're just sitting here waving your hands in the air saying, I have no idea why this happened. And this is something I see consistently in this fed is best, pro-formula, pro-combo feeding movement is these women who are like, oh, for whatever reason this happened, the evidence is right in front of them and they refuse to acknowledge it. She literally linked the evidence and then said, but it's sparse. Like, I don't really know why this happened. And like, it's like this defense mechanism, I guess. I don't really know, but it's concerning to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's just concerning to me that people are going to sit there and... Are you looking for that spot?
No, I'm just looking for something different.
It's just concerning to me that people are saying that there's not information available, and there is. They just don't want to hear it because it goes against the story they've told themselves in their head.
Yeah, I just, my mom as a working professional who exclusively breastfed, pumped at work and stuff and had bottles, and that's, again, where all these lactation rooms come from, lactation pods, and the advancements we've seen and try to support that. I'm not here to villainize a bottle, right? Like,
yeah.
I know that it's a tool.
Formula's a tool. This isn't about villainizing formula either.
Yeah.
It's about villainizing misinformation.
It's true. I just think, again, it's a very kind of irresponsible. She talks about, like, with just, like, saying, like, oh, go formula early and often. So you're a mom, copy, mothers know best, as a saying, and yes, we have to respect the mom's intuition and everything.
Make your informed decisions.
Making informed decisions, but I just caution you, like, I don't know what her actual qualifications to understand how to have a good breastfeeding relationship and what her actual understanding of the science behind how breastfeeding works. Like, I don't believe she's a lactation consultant, is she?
No.
Okay, so I mean, like...
No, in fact, it says on here... I thought I read what,
she's like
her
an
bio
editor.
or something.
She's like an editor or something. Not someone who has actually done the homework.
Yeah, she has like a, what's it called, like N=2 experience. Like, this is not... I think the reason it's so frustrating to me is because in, centuries ago, women worked through feeding issues because they were watching each other breastfeed. They were understanding, they were seeing this in a community setting. This is why so many women can't figure breastfeeding out, and why I work with so many women who, it's really a simple fix that they need. It's not always a big problem. It's like simple fixes because just nobody taught them. They've never seen it. They've never experienced it. This is what our community is experiencing. Media is our, quote, community. And people putting this out there is like, this is what you're seeding the next generation with, is this idea that we don't actually solve problems. We throw a Band-Aid at it and act like everybody lied to you. And like, I just feel like I think it's reckless. I think the entire thing is extremely reckless and undermining decades.
I think it's just poor investigative work, right? I just think that this is an opinion piece, and no one should take it as fact. No one should take it as.
But when you're normalizing it, like if this is our version of. This is our version of community that people learn from. They're not doing articles on how I worked through breastfeeding and saved my breastfeeding relationship. Yeah. They're doing articles on how lactation consultants destroy breastfeeding by diagnosing tongue ties. They're doing articles on how formula equals equality in marriage. And I just think that's really dismissive to femininity, breastfeeding, and the roots of what marriage is supposed to be. It is same but different. It's like equality can be same but different. Like the way I think of it, the way we talk about equality, a pound of feathers and a pound of rocks both equals a pound.
Yeah.
They are very different. It is going to feel very different to be hit with a pound of feathers than a pound of rocks. That is the same with marriage. Like, you can be, quote, equal in your marriage. You can be equal partners. You can bring equal value. You can bring equal benefit. But it's going to be different. And if it has to be the same for you to think it's equal, I think there's a deeper problem within the marriage.
Yeah, and making such a claim like the secret to marriage equality is formula. Does that mean that we gift people Similac at their bridal shower? You know, like I just like maybe your secret to your marriage, and that's fine. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to.
I mean, I'm gonna judge a little bit.
Disagree with you.
If it works for you, like
you,
I think
right?
there's a difference in saying like if it works for you, that's fine. If that's the decision that you're finding to make work for you, fine. Like everybody has to find what works for them. But if you're claiming that that's the secret to equality, that's very different than being like, this is what worked for us.
Yeah, it's like I need to fix this article. The secret to my marriage equality is formula. Like I feel like I need to fix that article.
I still think that just signals like that there's a deeper problem within the marriage.
I mean,
there was probably not equality before the kids came along.
Probably, but at the same time, again, I'm just trying to respect that person's relationship. Of course, I have an opinion.
We're here to talk about your opinion. I want to know your opinion.
Yeah, so my opinion is, Dad, step up your game because, like, and stop being so butthurt about you feeling like you don't get to, quote-unquote, feed the baby. Because guess what? They're not going to breastfeed forever. And are you going to be cooking Sunday dinners? Are you going to be doing some things? Do you take care of the things in the background to help mom truly feel supported?
So that kind of leads into, I was going to say, you've kind of touched on this a bit. What would be your advice to new dads who feel like she's feeding the baby all the time, there's nothing that I can do? Like, what is your advice for how dads can feel like they are parenting equally?
Yeah, I mean, so when she's feeding the baby and maybe it takes a while and you know, whatever, just be in the background and do the support, right? You think of Joseph and Mary in the nativity story, right? Joseph isn't the star of the show, but man, the show can't go on without him, right? Mm-hmm. You just got to be that protector in the background that is taking care of things. And maybe the protection is simply, I'm going to clean up that mess that might have been made, or I'm going to change the other kid's diaper, or I'm going to get her some peace, quiet, or I need to go order the pizza and get some takeout tonight, or whatever have you.
I think it kind of comes back to, too, like, we always talk about the support, and people come in, their version of support is to take the baby.
Yeah.
And then so that the mom can do the other things. Like, so he can feed the baby so that the mom can do the other things. Like, I don't know. But, like, support can look like giving her the space to feed while the other things are taken care of.
Exactly, right? So, I mean, because I think if your wife has the baby and she's breastfeeding and it's the time to feed, you going and hopping on the Xbox probably isn't the move. Maybe you just gotta take care of the other thing, right? And understand that, yeah, you can't breastfeed, but that's not the reason to feel left out. That's the reason to feel it's your time to take care of the other piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
You know? So that's my advice to the dads, right? Watching your wife breastfeed is one of the most amazing things that you'll ever encounter. I mean, you know, you can sit here and talk about the health benefits, the financial benefits, whatever have you, right? It's good. Yeah, there might be some times in life where maybe formula is the better option. I'm not here to tell you what's right or wrong for you. But what I'm telling you is, if your wife has a goal to breastfeed, support her. And how you support her is taking care of everything else in the periphery. You know? Like, you got other kids. If you have other kids, it's changing the diapers. And guess what? If you still have one kid, maybe you're the one who takes the kid for the diaper, or you're the one who gives the kid the bath, or you're the one who installs the car seats and figures that out.
My favorite thing was like when Aiden would just be screaming and screaming and screaming, and he didn't even want a nurse. Like, there was nothing I could do to calm him down. You would come home and just like carry him around and sing.
Yeah.
And it was like, finally, like, peace. Like, that was something I couldn't do for him. For whatever reason, he loved it, and like he would relax. Like, we finally have peace.
Because also, right, like, think of this, fellas, right? If the baby gets milk from mom, and the baby smells mom, I mean, how do you feel if you're sitting at the barbecue, like, smelling the grill all day? Are you not going to feel a little bit hungry? Like, even if you're not totally hungry, if it smells really good, like, so, but you're not the barbecue grill, so you can take the kid and do some things. So I think people overthink all this. I think people read too much into it.
Well, I think they get too fixated on feeding.
Yeah. They have to... Feeding is a part of the equation of being a parent. It's not the end-all, be-all. And I know that sometimes when people are like, breast is best makes it seem like the end-all, be-all. It can be hugely important without being the end-all, be-all. You know? And just doing it kind of in an ordered fashion will make it the positive that it's supposed to be. But if you fixate on it and you don't support it and you don't do the things that need to be done...
Okay, so what about, like...
outside of...
just for, like, first-time parents that might be listening or something. I know a big thing that kind of comes up, or, like, she talked about the experience of, like, oh, she had to go have emergency surgery or whatever. And they were worried about leaving the baby alone. Or people worry about, like, him. Oh... Well, yeah.
Not with him. Baby was going to be with dad.
Yes. I meant, like, away from mom.
Yeah.
In my brain, I was thinking without milk, without mom. And so how formula was, like, the saving grace there. And, like, obviously in an emergency situation, formula can be a tool.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But people have this idea that, oh, I guess, like, we're never going to be able to go out. We're never going to be able to be away from the child. We're never going to be able to do X, Y, Z because she's breastfeeding. Like, what are your thoughts and feelings about that?
It comes back to the squishy conversation of that answer is as complicated as marriages and people themselves, right? Some people, and this...
I don't want to hear about what some people think. I want to know what you think.
Okay, well, I mean, I know that I've seen you and I've seen my mom publicly breastfeed, and it was fine. I've seen people be able to just keep living their lives and just casually breastfeed. Bring the baby with them. And, sometimes a baby's probably a little easier than a toddler to bring to, a dinner or an event or a wedding or what have you, right? I think that...
What if it's somewhere they say you can't bring the baby?
I mean... People have to understand that the baby is a part of you now.
Okay, what if they don't want to bring the baby? Does that mean that they should implement formula feeding? Like, what do you...
I think that they have to just think creatively and think positively about it. Like, if it's a known situation, maybe you're building up a milk supply for when. Maybe you do have to use a little supplemental formula here and there. Or maybe you try to solve for yes to how to bring baby and how to make that happen, right? But people have, while having a child is life-changing, it's not life-ending.
Yeah, I think that's too a commentary on, like, our culture just not being child-friendly, where people are like, oh, well, I can't take the baby to that, I can't take the baby to that, and it's like, why not?
And where I was going with the some people feel was the idea that, public breastfeeding, people feel it differently. There's some people who are really like, no, I want the privacy, no, I want to cover up. And then there's some people who are just
we'll have to do an episode with you on public breastfeeding as a dad, because I know dads have a lot of different feelings on that, and we've talked about that, so we'll have to save that for another episode because I want to dig into that with you.
Listen to me talk again. I mean, but yeah, I think that a lot of this answer is as complicated as itself, but just because it's your answer doesn't make it the answer at the same time, you know? I think there's too many people who try to oversimplify it to make it black and white.
Well, I'm going to oversimplify it. Marriage equality.
Yeah.
Is formula the secret to marriage equality?
No. Marriage is much more complex than just do you formula feed or not.
And it's also like, I think it brings up for me too that marriage is, if you did things, what I'm going to say, quote unquote, the right way, the marriage should be the foundation before the baby exists, before the parenting exists. And the marriage is intended to exist and be what you have after the child has grown and left the nest. Like, the marriage is the constant.
Yeah. Breastfeeding is a blip on the radar screen.
Isn't that crazy? It feels like it's been, like, forever, like, such a big part.
Well, because we have 5 kids and we've repeated the cycle 5 times now. But breastfeeding is ultimately a blip on the radar in terms of, like, the marriage and the ideal state, what we're going for here.
It is a blip on the radar, but I think it's like so formative. How you navigate challenges. Like it exploits. That's what I'm trying to say. Like breastfeeding, it is a blip on the radar, but I do think it exploits problems that you didn't.
It's a challenge.
Like, like it will highlight and expose every problem and crack and fissure in the foundation of that marriage. And it's like, it's kind of shitty that you got to figure out how to work through that while you're trying to figure out how to feed this baby. But it's like, if marriage is the foundation, then marriage equality cannot be dependent on how you feed your baby.
And challenge, you know, is a word I don't want to phrase negatively, right? Like, it's a challenge to end your marriage or whatever. What it is it's a time where, like you said, you're gonna be tested. It's a stress test in a way. Mm-hmm. You're gonna be tested, but the good news is you don't have to have all the answers before you do it. You just have to have the right principles to navigate through it.
Yeah.
And you'll be fine, right? Like, maybe one time you do hand the baby off is your Xbox time. Maybe the other time it's, hey, I'm gonna make sure the dishes are done, or this laundry's folded, or whatever. Even if it's not your primary quote-unquote task in the division of labor of a marriage or whatever you have, right?
Yeah.
I just think that people are trying to overthink these problems, and they don't need to. Like, as human beings, we always want to explain. We always want to have scientific understanding of how to do things. And that's all well and good. I think we're overthinking the dynamics that should be kind of navigated with our hearts a bit too.
Yeah.
Not just our keeping track and, you know, desires for equality. I think that this article, there's a lot of stuff behind there that not necessarily our business, but I think that it's irresponsible to say this is what every marriage should do by having such a bold declarative title.
Yeah. No, I agree. At the end of the day, it's just... I just don't even have words for it, because I just think it's sad.
I think so too.
I think it's really sad, and it makes me sad for them. Like, I'm frustrated that this was put out into the world as like this statement that just gets in people's brains and rewires brains, but I'm sad for them because it sounds like she says it was an informed decision, but she has to work so hard to defend it that I don't, like, I believe if you made an informed decision that you were comfortable with, you don't have to work so hard to defend it.
Yeah. And again, I feel like I'm talking in circles here, but at the same time, I really can't get over the fact that he's not quoted. She says he felt left out. But, like, I don't know if they ever really explored those feelings and tried to work through them and figure something out positively that wasn't just, screw it, formula.
Right.
So,
Like, was he being like a toddler throwing a tantrum? Like, I feel left out, you don't feed the baby. Oh, well, you can do this and this. But it's not feeding the baby, I feel left out. Or did she just, like, assume he felt that way? Like, we don't know. But if you're listening, don't make assumptions on what your partner's feeling. But if they are acting that way...
Even when you're still breastfeeding and you're 6 months and now you're starting to introduce solids, dad can't do here comes the airplane with the spoon, like...
Yeah.
Dude, your day is coming.
Yeah.
You know, like, you don't get this instant gratification. You're eventually going to have to feed the kid other things. I cooked lunch today. Yeah. I came over, I cooked lunch today. I cook Sunday dinners. I fire up the smoker. I do things. Do you feel left out that I make a meal?
Not at all.
I mean, so I get it, right? We all have a part to play. I just really feel like people need to get over their own emotions sometimes, or at least express and work through them. Right.
So what is your advice then to the mom who's listening, whose husband is being like a brat about breastfeeding? Because they exist. Like, it's very true reality that, like, there are dads out there, and I know some of you listening are experiencing this, and I'm sorry if you are, I know it's hard. There are dads out there who are brats about breastfeeding, who are, like, freaking...
What I would say to moms that are dealing with, dad having these big emotions about feeling left out breastfeeding is really just say thank you for everything else he does. And it says, because you do that, it gives me the time to do this.
What if he's not doing anything else?
Well, if he's not doing anything else, then he's got to look in the mirror and think, like, what can I do to help here, right? And it goes back to the age-old conversation of when the baby's born, everyone wants to come watch the baby, but no one wants to do the dishes, no one wants to cook the meals, no one wants to mow the grass or do all the things that still go on in life. Because you have a child, life changes, but life isn't over, and life goes on.
Yeah.
So I think that you have to just kind of have that conversation of, breastfeeding is my goal. Breastfeeding is what I'm committed to. It's good for us. It's good for baby. And definitely give him those moments, though, where it's like, hey, can you hang on to the baby while I take a shower? Right? It's a team sport. It's not.
I mean, I would caution, like, asking permission, though.
No, but I mean,
I'm sure
there are some.
I say it
relationships out there where it's like mom's time, dad's time.
Yeah, if I say it to you, if I say, can I go take a shower? I'm not asking your permission, but like, there are some dynamics where it's like, that's asking permission to take a shower, and that's like, you shouldn't have to ask permission to take a shower.
And again, it boils down to nothing else that I've said on this podcast like 3 or 4 times. It's as complicated and different as the relationships and the people themselves.
I know, but like, how can we help moms who are stuck in those complicated relationships, or how can we, what advice is there for dads in those complicated relationships who are maybe the ones who need to grow and don't want to look at themselves in the mirror?
Well,
like,
I know nothing good
as
is good.
As a husband, like, what is just as a man and as a husband, I'm curious, like, what do you wish other men who maybe haven't, like, who aren't as wonderful as you, what do you wish that they would say or do, or how do you wish that they would, like, shift their perspective?
I just think that they, if you're gonna be emotional, you gotta work through your feels, which that's you, man. If you can't overcome your emotional, think rational. While she's doing that for however many minutes, what are the things that need to be done that I could do, right? And if you're,
solving for yes.
Solve for yes, exactly. Yeah. I think that's a great way to put it, right? Like, man, she's still feeding the baby and dinner's not ready yet. Well, maybe you could cook, or we're to cook, or maybe you're the one grabbing takeout. If it's, I can't, she's feeding the baby and I don't really feel like connected to the baby because she's the one who gets to feed it all. Well, you get to sit with baby at the table, don't you? Even if baby's not eating. Or take a bath with baby. Or, there's so many, changing diapers, there's so many more intimate moments in parenthood that are not around feeding. I remember the one commercial with the WWE superstar who's playing I'm a Little Teacup with his daughter, there are so many wonderful things that you don't have to miss out on. if you're not fixated about it.
Get!
Ultimately to dads, right, there are so many good intimate moments that that are not feeding based, that you just don't have to be fixated on missing out on one of them. That is unique to the nature of mom and baby.
Yeah.
Right? Dads can still give baths. Dads change diapers. Dads can cook. Dads can do Here Comes the Airplane when solids come into the mixture, right? Like, it just...
I mean, how many times have you had to do that? Because we did baby-led weaning, too, so it was just like, here's the food, baby, and make a mess. Like,
yeah, but, like, there is so much more to parenthood than just feeding. And, you know, formula's for you, formula's for you. I'm not going to sit here and preach about
this isn't about villainizing formula, but it is about, like, there are real problems with formula, like how we view formula in our society.
Yeah.
And this article doesn't do anything to help that.
I just feel like they say, you know, just like they might negatively react, because let's be real, there are insufferable pro-breastfeeding people, just like there are insufferable pro-formula people, right? Like, just maybe not be insufferable and support moms through things.
Am I insufferable?
No, you're not on the insufferable spectrum, but I'm sure there's been a couple insufferable breast is best people that have, like on this lady, that have caused her trauma or whatever.
But I also think, like, people just hear what they want to hear sometimes.
Yeah, and that's completely true too. I think that, like, older generations, both on the mom and the dad side, because your mom's breastfeeding journey was shorter, more formula-based than mine. And I'm not the one who breastfeeds, you know? But I came to our marriage with that being normalized to me. Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, sure, babe, go for it, you know? Like, oh, yeah, the breast pump.
But it also, you viewed it as, like, a natural, normal part of things, not as, like, oh, I saw my dad doing formula feeding all the time, so I think that's what I'm supposed to do. Like, that was what was normalized for you, that feeding was, I mean, I know your mom pumped and everything, so, like, she was not the only person feeding the baby, but you saw it as, like, feeding was biologically the mother's job. Breastfeeding was the normal thing, and so you didn't come at it as, like, oh, I've never seen this before, I don't know how to make this work. Like, you had already seen it kind of work.
But also, one thing that I find interesting is breastfeeding considered the luxury? And the reason I ask that is because, like, and maybe this is the wrong parallel, but, like...
This is taking such a turn.
It is a turn, sorry. Farm to table is seen as kind of bougie and expensive, right?
Yeah.
But that's, like, minimally processed, and that's, like, as bare as it natural as it can get.
And it's also, like, as basic and, like, primitive.
Yeah. Like, you go back to, I don't know, mid-18th, mid-16th century, 17th century, whatever. Everything was farm to table, right? I'm sure that if you were to export them to here today, they'd see canned food or they'd see stuff and they'd be like, whoa, that's fancy, right? Like, the fact that they can stay without spoiling, whoa. And then the idea of that someone else did that and was selling that, like, I think that it's all kind of relative. And so, like, to try to cast breastfeeding as classist or luxurious or bougie or whatever when it's a natural design, I think that's just kind of off in its own way, you know? Like, I know formula
having breastfeeding support can seem like a luxury for some people, because it's like your mom talks about how she had a breastfeeding fairy come help her with Phila.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, a lactation consultant. She called her the breastfeeding fairy.
Okay, that's not one I heard of before.
I guess we have conversations you're not privy to.
Yeah.
But, like, my mom never had a lactation consultant. You know, same timeline. Mm-hmm. Exact same timeline. My mom was having issues with feeding. There was no, see a lactation consultant. She was just told, use formula. Your mom was, like, in a different area. Mm-hmm. And it was, oh, you're having trouble feeding? See a lactation consultant. And so, like, not even to say, like, oh, like, it's a money thing, but, like, it's just a luxury to have people around you who can tell you where to go get help.
Yeah.
Today, it's different. There's more lactation consultants. But, like, just from that standpoint, like, it's, like, almost, like, maybe not luxury, but luck. Like, if you have the right support system.
At the same time, back then it probably didn't need to be as many lactation consultants because this was just common knowledge amongst moms.
No, when I say back then, I mean, like, in 2000.
Okay.
When our moms were going through, like, the exact same issues at the exact same time.
Around the, 90s, 2000s. Okay, I got you. But the thing is, I think, like, yeah, it's all about, like, the women you're around, I guess. Or even,
right,
like, what have you been normalized to, for either gender? What have you been normalized to? Because my dad hasn't had that, like, oh, I was left out of breastfeeding mentality. Like, he still did other things around. He worked as hard as he did. He still had 3 other kids to deal with, you know? So, now, he was not a guy who loved the diaper thing. Like that's where he checked out. But I don't think he was complaining about not getting that. Poor man, squeamish. God bless him. But ultimately, he was supportive of my mom breastfeeding, too.
Yeah. It's
not like he told her, no, don't do that, or no, I'm disgusted by that, or no, I'm squeamish by that, or no, I'm whatever by that, right?
Yeah.
Like, no, because he worked very similar to what she did, and he wasn't like, oh, you can't do that. Like,
no, he supported her taking a pump to work and making it work. Like, it wasn't like, oh, that's taboo, so don't do it. It was like,
and he was
do what you have to do.
A very conservative, like, Middle Eastern country, you know?
Yeah, but he really grew up in Italy, and so Europe has always been...
But at the same time, even though it was a conservative Middle Eastern country, I think it's still more normal that
breastfeed.
That's
what I'm saying. Like,
you know?
He is from an area where it's more normal, and he grew up and spent so much time in Italy and Europe, like, or it's normal. Like, people are not afraid of boobs there.
Yeah. Yeah, and so, you know, the fact that, which state was it? Idaho, that only recently had legislation like, you can public breastfeed?
Like, to actually protect moms, which I think it's stupid that you have to have legislation to protect them. But it's not like they didn't have legislation because they didn't think it was necessary. They were having issues with it.
Yeah. Yeah. But, I mean, like, just the normalization of breastfeeding is how we support it better.
Yeah.
Like that's the floor where it all starts. And you got to raise that floor to take it higher.
Which starts with the husband.
Yeah. Because, I mean, fellas, if we don't support our wives, like, what are we doing? We're half of the equation. Like, you know, I know we're not the one that, you know, rubber meets the road, delivers the milk into the mouth, but at the same time, like, we are the ones who could be the best supporter or not. Because, sadly, I feel like women tear women down over breastfeeding more than men tear women down over breastfeeding.
Probably.
I mean, because, again, there's a lot of projection of...
But that all comes back to, again, like, having more information and being open-minded enough to accept that information. Like, information is neutral. You take that information, you can choose what's best for you. Like, that's what bothered me about the article most, really, was that whole bit of, like, here's information, but I don't think that's true, but it happened to me, and I don't know why. And it's like, okay, so you have the information, you made a decision. You guys can't see me waving my hands in the air, but it's just like, I don't, what do you say to that?
Yeah. I don't know. I just think that people need to be able to read between the lines of what's said in an article and what's not said. But, you know, they do design these things to be clickbaity.
Yeah.
To be, and just because I can put a couple hyperlinks in there to think, oh, this person's done research. Nah, maybe you haven't.
Yeah. So, just since we've been rambling and kind of going in circles, to wrap it up,
I'll say.
What's your last message to anyone listening? Mom who wants to share this with her husband, a dad who's listening. What's your last little bit of wisdom?
Just remember, at the end of the day, every marriage and every parenting, right, is a team.
So what's your secret to marriage?
So what's my secret to marriage is just being open. Like, okay, I got you. We're full on. I'm fully in. Let me know what you need me to do. And if I had issues, like, we talked about them, we discussed them, we worked through them, we worked through the what ifs. And then we were, you know, once it's going, it's on, right? I think that if you just let things fester and simmer and you don't have the conversation, you don't have the understanding. Like, I really hope that this husband in this scenario would have just come up to his wife and said, hey, I feel a little left out because you do get so much time with our child. And then they would problem solve other things without having to change what does she do? How does she feed that child, right? So just staying just not overthinking it and staying broad too, to be like, oh, there's other ways to bond. Oh, there's other things that I can do to help take care of and not feel quote unquote sidelined, you know?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my last message. Well, I appreciate you having me on.
We'll have to do this again and talk about public breastfeeding because, you know, there's always the dads that have an issue with it.
Well, and there's also the mother-in-laws that flex on those dads too. So.
What do you mean?
So it's not just sometimes the dad, but it's also what his mother thinks.
Yeah, but then he doesn't stand up to her.
Everyone thinks. Yep. So
we'll have to have that conversation.
Yeah, it's you know, you didn't have that experience with me, but I know that those dynamics are out there.
And we've talked about that a lot, though. We've talked about that a lot, just like the religious implications and stuff of that conversation.
Yeah, again, it's as complicated and different as everything out there and everyone out there.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. Everyone have a good afternoon. And go Pats.
We're recording this on Super Bowl Sunday. That's why he said that. Don't hold it against me. I'm not a Patriots fan.
All right, Mama Bear, that is a wrap for today. If this episode helped you feel a little more confident or a little more prepared for breastfeeding, can I ask you a quick favor? Go ahead and leave me a review. It helps other moms find this podcast and join us in this amazing community of fierce and confident Mama Bears. And hey, if you know a friend who could use some encouragement or real talk about pregnancy, breastfeeding, and all things motherhood, share this episode with her. You've got this, Mama Bear. Trust your instincts, stay fierce, and I'll catch you in the next episode.